I left my cat in the bathroom. What the fuck is up, Denny's? I'm really happy with my shirt right now. I've never worn this shirt like this before. It's like a weird, it's like kind of like tweaker wear, honestly. But anyway, hello. I'm so excited for this, but I'm also dreading it because it's a lot of work. We're going through every single book that I haven't read yet, and we're gonna say what they are at the very least, and maybe I'll say a couple things about it. I have been trying to get myself back into the books that I own. Excited about reading the books that I own. It's a new year. Woo! If you're wondering how I have so many books, it's because I'm 32. I started collecting books when I was like 12, getting classics from the thrift store since I was a child, and I haven't had to give a bunch away because I haven't done like big moves. If you're wondering how one does this, it's slowly over time visiting thrift stores frequently and picking up a lot of classics and books that you think you'll want. So we're going through every book that I own that I haven't read yet. We're not going through the books that are destined for my little free library because I don't own those. I steward them. We're starting with the books that were not on these bookshelves, that they were elsewhere in my house. We're starting with those. There might be more, and I don't know where they are. Oh, my baby, my poor baby, I'm so sorry. God Bless You, Mr. Rosewater by Kurt Vonnegut. I read half of it, fully half of this book, during my mashed potato May catastrophe, where I was so excited to do mashed potato May, started a reading vlog. I had been on a roll with reading, and it completely spiraled me into a reading slump, and I never finished reading this book even though I was really enjoying it. So that's one. I love Kurt Vonnegut, by the way. Long After Midnight by Ray Bradbury. I also love Ray Bradbury, and this is the one book that I still have on my shelf that I haven't read from him, and I would like to read this before I get the other books that I don't own from him. So I have the motivation, but do I have the will? I have only read 2 of the short stories from this book. This is a whole bunch of short stories. I love reading short story collections. I've heard a lot of sentiment on BookTube, and it's maybe just the people that I follow that they don't like short story collections. I'm a huge fan of short story collections. So I'm excited to read this, but I haven't been very diligent about it. Similarly, Joanna Russ, The Hidden Side of the Moon. I read the first short story in this collection last year, and I loved it completely. I didn't read any more, so I've got to read this. Holiday Inn by James Howe. I also read half of this. I don't know, I was reading it before bed, and sometimes I get into these periods of time where I'm just incredibly sleepy and stop reading before bed. I just fall right asleep, and then I don't read the book that I'm reading anymore. Bedbugs by Ben H. Winters. I really wanted to read this during like the Halloween time because this has like Halloween-y vibes. It says that there might be a sinister explanation for this bed bug problem, and it sounds like maybe they're like from hell, or it sounds very interesting. Like, I'm very compelled by the description of this book, but I have not picked it up. I think I got to page 2. Similarly, I wanted to read some ghost stories during Halloween time. My whole entire fall just sped by so quickly, and I don't know what happened, but I didn't end up reading any of these classic ghost stories, and this is a collection by a whole bunch of different people. It's one of the Dover thrift editions. My cat just bit the shit out of the tripod leg. He's gonna lose teeth. Below Stairs, the best-selling memoirs of a 1920s kitchen maid. I got this from my little free library. I read some of it. I read up to chapter 8. I think I'm gonna give this away. I don't think I'm gonna want it. I was really excited about this because it is about a kitchen maid. I was really interested in this like vibe, this maid vibe, because of my obsession with the Apothecary Diaries. But it's just so much harsher that I'm not interested. And this was my most recent acquisition. This is The Wanting Seed by Anthony Burgess. This sounds really weird plot-wise, that it could get into like troubling territory, like problematic territory, because it's in a world that glorifies homosexuality because they're battling with overpopulation. I also have the entire collection of Apothecary Diaries manga that is the Eastern only version, like the one without an English translation, so it's in Japanese. And I haven't really started reading it yet. I did kind of start reading it, but I really have to like buckle down and like, it's because it's not in English. I have to translate it as I'm reading it, which is quite tedious, so I haven't gotten very far. Apothecary Diaries Volume 15. This is the light novel, and this is the last book that I have, because I think this is the last book that's out in English. Really want to read this. I just finished Volume 14 a couple days ago, and I like really want to read this, but I also don't want it to be over, so I don't know what to do. So that's how I feel about this. Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton. I do really want to read this soon. I'm excited about it. I'm especially excited because there's like plots and stuff. I love Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park 3, the movie, was like my favorite thing as a child. So definitely interested. I've also read The Lost World, the sequel to Jurassic Park. I've already read that book, so I would love to read Jurassic Park. Very interested in this book. This is In the City Was a Garden, a housing project chronicle by Henry Krause. And it sounds like it's exactly that. It's about a housing project. I'm so interested in that. It seems like it's a nonfiction about some housing project, which, like, why? What is that about? These are Spanish, like, course books, so I won't go into that. No! These are my cat's ashes, so I'm kind of spilling them around. Hawaii's Story by Hawaii's Queen. It's just really long, but I am interested in hearing this. I guess the text isn't so small, and it smells really good. Wow, this is a good smelling book. It smells sweet. I just don't know when I'm gonna read this. It also seems depressing. I don't know. The Rough Field by John Montague. I think this is poetry. This is from 1972. I know it looks like it's like some ancient classic or something, but it's not. The Rough Field has been praised as the most significant attempt in poetry to understand the troubled history of Ireland's north, and a rich and complex work by the best Irish poet of his generation. I'm so interested in Ireland. My husband is Irish. His grandfather was born in Ireland, so he definitely has like strong Irish connections, so I would like to read this. Nick Hornby, High Fidelity. I've heard of High Fidelity. I've read Nick Hornby before. I've read A Long Way Down. I think this is about music, so I just don't really know anything about it other than that. The Goose Girl by Shannon Hall. I did, in fact, start reading this, and I don't know, I got pretty far. I read this a couple months ago, I think. I started it, and then, I don't know, I just felt myself kind of like waning in interest. And so I was like, I shouldn't force myself to finish this if I'm feeling that way. Now here are some collections. Florilegium is a collection of short stories inspired by like very specific words. I've read one short story from this collection. This is by Michael Wombat. Collections of poetry. There are issues of poetry. This is May 2019. I have August 2020 and June 2019. I got all of these from a thrift store. The Waves by Virginia Woolf. I got kind of far into this as well, maybe like 25%, maybe a little more honestly, because it's kind of a short book. And yet, I had such a hard time with it. I was really struggling to understand what was going on in this book. I think I need to read a plot summary before I read this, because I just found myself very confused. I've read A Room of One's Own by Virginia Woolf before. That's the only Virginia Woolf I've read. I tried to read Orlando, but similarly, I just found it really hard. So I think I find her language like a little bit difficult to get into, but I think it's worth it because it is very beautiful. R. Crumb's Dream Diary. This is by R. Crumb, who I think is a comic artist. This is, in fact, a dream diary, and I've read some of the dreams. I got to page... Okay, this says 6. I really felt like I was deeper into this. I definitely read some dreams. This was recommended by Tyler the Creator, and I was reading this for a reading blog of reading books associated with my favorite musical artists. I read The Alchemist for Pharrell. I read Kafka on the Shore for Doja Cat, and I was gonna read this one for Tyler the Creator. It's so long. It's not something that you can read like straight through. It definitely feels like something you read over like the course of a year, and I was not down for that kind of commitment. It's one of the most beautiful books that I have, and it's extremely interesting. I'm pretty sure I'm borrowing this from my sister, which is not a good look because I haven't picked it up in eons. This is The Wise Man's Fear by Patrick Rothfuss. I had the most fantastic time of my life reading the first book in this series, The Name of the Wind. I think that was before I started this channel. Look at how big it is. It's a commitment for sure. I feel like I have to get so into it again, and I don't know if I'm ready for that. I've held this book up a lot because I read Happy Ever After and The Death of Ivan Ilyich this year, and I loved them. I have remaining in this collection of novellas The Cossacks, and I tried to read it and I didn't like it and I didn't know what to do, so I stopped reading it. We, the Venusians by John Rackham. I read The Water of Thought by Fred Saberhagen last year, and this is an ace double feature, so this is on the opposite side of the book. I should just read it. I really should. I love old sci-fi. I really have such a wonderful time with old sci-fi, but it looks like I got to page 2 and I put it down, so I don't know. The Thing with Feathers by Noah Stryker. My husband really loves birds, and I have a novella, probably is the length of this work, that features a woman who loves birds. And so I wanted to learn more about birds to like better inform that character. A nonfiction about birds. An illustrated book about birds. Bridget Terabithia by Catherine Patterson. I never read this as a child, and I heard it's very sad and it's about like death and stuff. So I've gotten so close to reading this so frequently, but I just don't want to be in such a bummer mood. And I don't know what, so like one of these kids dies, I'm pretty sure. Anyway, I had childhood cancer. Is this about cancer? Because like, if it is, I think I might have a hard time. Things. This is edited by Ivan Howard, but it's a collection of short stories of terror and shock by science fiction greats. And I have read about half of this book quite a long time ago, and I never finished it. I should finish the books that I start. Magical Thinking by Augustin Burroughs. I almost got rid of this book, and then I didn't, and now I feel like I have to at least try it. It's, I think, a collection of essays by this guy, this gay man, and I think it's about that to some extent. Alan Darkest Children by Alhird Bakarovic. I have been wanting to read this book. I think I will love this book. I'm afraid to read this book, and I didn't read it during Mashed Potato May, and I didn't even start it. And I just really want to read this book, so I have to get over myself and do it. Part of the reason why I want to read this is it deals with like language loss, which is one of my like great interests in life. Relativity by Albert Einstein. I would love to read this. I should just read it. I'm sure I'll have a great time whenever I get to it. Childhood's End by Arthur C. Clarke. Haven't read it yet. Don't know what it's about. Based on a true story by Norm Macdonald. Norm Macdonald's one of my favorite comedians. I'm kind of putting off reading this because I feel like it'll be like, I don't want to like let him go. Is that seems A little dramatic, but that's how I feel. On the Road by Jack Kerouac. I almost read this year because I was reading Little Brother by Cory Doctorow, and this is mentioned quite a lot in that. I almost read this in college. I've almost read this a bunch of times because it's such a classic, and I feel like I was such I was a little misfit teen, so I was like really drawn to this kind of thing. And now I don't know. Raise High, The Roof Beam Carpenters, and Seymour, an Introduction by J.D. Salinger. I love A Catcher in the Rye, one of my favorite books, and I guess I'm a little afraid to read more by J.D. Salinger, because like what if I don't like it? I don't know. The Click by Lacey Harrison. If I didn't have this book on my shelves anymore, would I be sad? Not really, but I do love the cover. I think it's excellent design, very beautiful, and I am kind of curious about it. Like, maybe I would love it. I don't know. It's like teen girl drama. Sometimes it's fun to read that kind of stuff. I tried to read The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern this year. I got it as an audiobook. I read, I don't know, like not even, it was like half an hour of this book. And it sent me into such a big reading slump. I don't know what it is, but I was just like completely dreading reading this book. Burning the Days by James Salter. Similarly, I almost got rid of this book, and then I thought I should keep it because it seemed kind of interesting, actually. It's like a jet fighter memoir. God, I do feel so weird having this book at this point, and I am still curious. It's about how Israeli agents tracked the Hamas master bomber. This is The Hunt for the Engineer by Samuel M. Katz. I am really curious about this. It's quite old. I've had this book for a long time. Apparently I read up to page 69 when I was like a teenager. It's from 1999. And so like maybe it'll actually be like very interesting, because I'm definitely feeling very conflicted about this because I'm sure there's bias. And all of these books are like textile books. And then I have a couple of Japanese books, machine-made patchworks. They're really cool. Let me show you these actually. Like, super inspiring. I put them all back and I like pushed them all the way back so that I have like extra space. Does that mean I can get more books? Dubliners by James Joyce. I need to read this so desperately, and yet I have not yet. Love in a Cold Climate by Nancy Mitford. I saw this at the thrift store somewhat recently. It was this year, and seeing like a little penguin, like an old penguin book, I just couldn't not pick it up, and I don't know if I'm gonna like it at all. Silent World by Jacques Cousteau. I have tried to read this in the past. I got pretty far, and by pretty far I mean 16 pages, and I am definitely interested in this. I love ocean exploration. It's one of my favorite things to consume, although I just don't do it that much, and I feel like I need to be in the right space for that. The Valley of the Moon by Jack London. This is part 2. I don't have part 1. I'm definitely interested in Jack London's works, and I should pick up part 1, I assume. Persuasion by Jane Austen. I don't like reading Jane Austen. I don't know what I need to do to my brain to like Jane Austen, but so far I don't, and so I'm avoiding it. Freshman Dorm by Linda A. Cooney. I think I picked this up from my little free library. Love the cover of this. I tried reading this. I did not get very far. I feel like it'll be fun. I'm not expecting it to be good. 3 Star Fix by Joseph Jablonski. I think this is about navigation on a ship. And I thought about getting rid of this, but then I read about it, and there's very few reviews of this book. So I'd like to give it a chance. Maybe it's a hidden gem, I don't know. Nancy Drew, The Clue in the Crumbling Wall by Carolyn Keene. When I learned that Carolyn Keene wasn't a real person and was just like a conglomerate of authors put together by the publisher, I was like, oh my god, are you kidding me? I have no real heroes in this life. Vita Sackville West, No Signpost in the Sea. Curious about this. Vita Sackville West seems like a very interesting person, like a gardener, also associated with Virginia Woolf and all that. So yeah, I'm very curious about this. I don't know what it's about, but I think it's on a boat. Pure by Andrew Miller. Just thought this was a gorgeous book. Don't know anything about it, but I am curious about it, if only because the cover is gorgeous. And if I like it, I get to hold up this beautiful cover. What a life that would be. The Matchmaker of Perigord by Julia Stewart. This seems like a light book, a light read, chick lit kind of thing. I don't know. I could find myself in the mood to read this. The Immortalist by Chloe Benjamin. I don't know anything about this book. I don't know why I picked it up, besides the color scheme being pretty. First on Mars by Rex Gordon. Again, old sci-fi. Just a guilty pleasure of mine. A Winter's Promise. I picked this up at a real bookstore. Paid top dollar for a brand new book. I just thought it looked really cool. Like, the design is beautiful, and I thought I could get into fantasy and that this could be a fantasy that I could get into. I haven't even attempted this one. 5 great short stories by Jack London. Again, I want to like Jack London, I really do. John Barleycorn was one of my favorite books. Sometimes his fiction is just a little too, I don't know, it's like aggressively harsh. Evelyn Waugh, The Loved One. I tried reading this right at the beginning of the year. Oh my goodness, I just don't know if I'm an Evelyn Waugh girl, but I love the cover. The cover art is by Quentin Blake, who did a bunch of the Roald Dahl. He did a bunch of Roald Dahl illustrations. So I love his illustrations, and so I really thought I'd like this. I think it makes fun of Americans. I love Americans. I'm American. Violent Phenomena in the Universe. I got this when I was a teen. I haven't read it yet. And it's very small writing on the inside. Very science. Chasing Hubble's Shadows by Jeff Canopy. Nonfiction about space. Love space. Studied a lot of space stuff when I was in college. Lilies and Other Stories. I really, really want to read this book. It's so beautiful. I love how it looks. And I just have... I don't know what kind of mood I need to be in to enjoy these. These are Chinese short stories written by a woman in like the 1950s and 70s, I think. So really could be very, very interesting. The solar system, exploration of the solar system. This book, this is probably why I took so many Arrow classes actually, because this book, oh my God, can you see this? Ah! It's so fucking cool. God, I love space. The things that we've discovered since I was a child. So I learned about the solar system in 3rd grade. New Horizons? Oh my God, we've learned so much. All of the, like the Juno, the James Webb telescope, everything that we've learned since I was a child is like so much more detailed. Oh, these little exoplanets and everything. Oh my God, it's so exciting. This is like a textbook. Yes, I got this when I was a child from the thrift store and fell in love. I think maybe I should do one of those like random number generator things, like assign numbers to these books and then like pick them out, because I'm feeling like so many of these, I just don't know when the right time to read them is, and that's why I'm putting them off. But it doesn't matter. But just like never picking it up is not the right answer. We're up here now. The Hacker and the Ants by Rudy Rucker. I picked this up somewhat recently because I really want more books about hacking. I feel so embarrassed talking about this because it's just like a silly, frivolous, like, joy that I have is like media about hacking, because I don't know anything about hacking. Octavia E. Butler Dawn. Sorry if you can hear that sawing. I'm just gonna carry on because I don't have time for that. It is driving me crazy though. I wish I could put noise canceling headphones on you and me, and then we could have a great time together. So I got this book because I was gonna do a video of reading the 2nd book from an author that I read and loved for the first time the year prior. And I did that video last year, had a wonderful time with it, or the year before last. This year I didn't do that many themed videos. I don't know, I was like not really, I haven't been very booktubey recently, I feel like. I read Parable of the Sower, loved it, and I thought I'd give this a try. The Souls of Black Folk by W.E.B. Du Bois. I read his book, Dark Princess, loved it, had a wonderful time, so I wanted to read this as well. The Water Dancer. This is a novel by Ta-Nehisi Coates, and I read, gosh, his like essay. My mind has gone completely blank with this sawing noise. I'm gonna burst into flames. Pardon me while I burst into flames. A decade ago, I was having a look in a book, World Made by Hand by James Howard Kunstler. I read a book by him as well that I also can't remember for the life of me. And these are all the books that I was going to read for that vlog. The other book I was going to read for that vlog was Weasels in the Attic by Hiroko Uemura, and I already read that. And I enjoyed it, but I didn't love it. Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe. You know why I bought this? It's the same reason I bought Invisible Man, Kendrick Lamar. I wanted to read books that Kendrick Lamar liked, and the only thing I could find was references to, like, yams, I guess, and Things Fall Apart and Invisible Man had yams. Happy End by Brecht, Veal, and Lane. This, I think, is a play, somewhat similar as Guys and Dolls, and it is set in a mythical Chicago in 1919. I definitely got into plays a bit more last year, and I would like to continue with that. I've had a good time with plays. Footfall by Larry Niven and Jerry Pournelle. I read Ring World by Larry Niven. I didn't really like it, but this this cover has, it's like a weird creature that resembles an elephant that is holding a hand mirror and a gun, and that is very compelling to me. I'm so excited that I got this. This is Early American Gardens for Meat or Medicine by Leighton. This is basically a textbook. It also should belong here, but this is packed. I was already so interested in gardening, and then I got interested in like apothecary stuff because of the Apothecary Diaries. Oh my god, I'm gonna fall. Whoops. The Wisdom Books by Robert Alter. I had to read the Book of Job for a comparative literature class in college, and this has Proverbs and Ecclesiastes. I haven't read any of that stuff. I'm not religious. I didn't study any of that. Job was pretty good though. This is 1Q84 by Haruki Murakami. I read Kafka on the Shore by Haruki Murakami 2 years ago. It was very long, but very, very readable. And I did enjoy it to some extent. Didn't love it. I started reading 1Q84 like years ago. I got it from the library, and I read like a lot of it, but I didn't realize how long it was, and my library rental expired. And now that I see it physically, I'm like, oh my god. I think my husband picked this up from a bookstore. I don't have plans to read this soon. A High Wind in Jamaica by Richard Hughes. I talk about this book in my 2025 public domain video. This became public domain in 2025. And I saw it at the thrift store, and I was like, oh my god, everybody loved this. They loved the movie and the book, and I thought I'd pick it up. And I am definitely curious about reading this. It seems like kind of fun and kind of scary. It's like a bunch of kids get stranded on an island. Barabbas by Par Lagerfist. Definitely interested in this. This is about Barabbas, which is a person in the Bible that I didn't really know anything about, but I guess he was like somebody who was gonna be crucified and then was like pardoned or something like that. I don't know. He seems like he's kind of a bad guy. Undersea City by Frederick Pohl and Jack Williamson. I was really excited about this because I really like the idea of undersea sci-fi, but then I started reading it and it was like all military stuff, and I was like, ugh, I don't want military stuff. I don't know. It's so short, but I'm like turned off of the whole thing. Inheritors of Earth by Gordon Eklund. Again, an old sci-fi. It says 3 forms of humanity, only one could survive. And it's got this like really dramatic cover. Definitely interested in this. Danton's Death, Leonce and Lena and Wojciech by Georg Buchner. Again, plays, translated plays. Anton Chekhov, 5 plays. Again, plays. Never read anything by Anton Chekhov. Ivanhoe by Sir Walter Scott. I don't know anything about Ivanhoe, but this book is beautiful. I don't know if I even want to read this, but it's a beautiful book. This is my dog's toy. Why is it relegated? Hey, Clove. I'm gonna throw it over at her. She is so dead asleep. Oh my god. This is the Post-Carbon Reader, Managing the 21st Century's Sustainability Crises. The Miracle Strain by Michael Cordy. I haven't read this. I think my husband has. Favorite Poems, Old and New by Helen Ferris, selected for boys and girls. I did read like 1 poem a night for some period of time when I was a child, and it was out of this book. Novelas de Alejandro Dumas. This is a Spanish version of Alexander Dumas' stuff. I've never read anything by Dumas. The Cloud People by Robert B. Kelly. A sci-fi that looks really silly and goofy that I don't know what I'm gonna read. The Eye of the World by Robert Jordan. I don't think I'm gonna read any of these ever in my life. I'm not good with people, with names and many characters. I don't think I can do it. Hello. So much has happened in my life since like the couple hours that we haven't been talking to each other. First order of business, I cleared my SD card. Second order of business, I now have cheesecake. I've been working on this song in the interim while I was taking a break from this. I was listening to the song Long For You by Hyunjin of Stray Kids, and I just love that Twin Peaks synth. So anyway, I made this entire song just because I really wanted a Twin Peaks synth kind of song. And it doesn't even have it, and I just feel like it's really slow, and I'm having a hard time with it. But then I was like, I cracked the case. I like pared it down quite a lot since yesterday, because yesterday I like added like electric guitar. I was doing some crazy stuff, right? And then I was like, no, this sounds horrible this morning. And then I just listened to it again like a few minutes ago, and I'm like, it really does not sound finished, so I don't know what to do with it. We left off on the complete works of Shakespeare. Not a big Shakespeare girly. Agatha Christie, 5 classic mysteries. I have read The Moving Finger, and that is it. But this also includes The Secret Adversary, The Murder of Roger Ackroyd, The Boomerang Clue, and Death Comes as the End. I definitely think I will be reading more Agatha Christie in my future. I just don't know when. Maya by Charles Gallenkamp. And I feel like you never know with these older nonfiction books if they're going to be great or not. If they're going to be like weirdly biased. The Oracle by William J. Broad. Of all the stories of ancient Greece, few capture the imagination as much as the Oracle of Delphi. A modern-day detective story that blends history and science. This is an Orson Scott Card. I have a whole bunch of these books in this series, Homecoming, but I don't think I have volume 1, which is the main problem. And I don't know if I'm ever going to read these. Chaucer, The Canterbury Tales. Definitely interested in this. I have been quite interested in medieval works. The Origin of Species by Charles Darwin. Would love to read this soon. I say that every time I hold it. The Glass Bead Game, or Magister Ludi by Hermann Hesse. Have I read anything from Hesse? I don't think I have. Kangaroo by D.H. Lawrence. I picked this up after learning about D.H. Lawrence through Lady Chatterley's Lover when I did my public domain video, I think 2 years ago. And this particularly seems very interesting because it is, I think, like a memoir. Yeah, partly autobiographical novel. It has something to do with Australia. Middlesex by Jeffrey Eugenides. I read, like, I don't know, half of this book or something. I read quite a lot of this book before I had a physical copy of it. I read it on audiobook through my library, and it was not good feeling. It was kind of nasty feeling. I have some remaining Kurt Vonnegut in my collection. I have Mother Night and Jailbird that I have not read yet. The Perennial Philosophy by Aldous Huxley. Interested in reading some Huxley. I have never read anything by Aldous Huxley. I think this really is actually a philosophy book. The Brothers Karamazov by Dostoevsky. I really do want to read this. I have read Crime and Punishment, and I think this one might be even better. Get Off the Unicorn by Anne McCaffrey. I think this is a collection of short fantasy stories. Oh, this is The Chickens Are Restless, a Far Side collection. Okay, I'm so sorry. This is really squeaky. Honestly, one of these days I should just read through this. I do quite enjoy The Far Side. We have 2 Gary Larson mugs. One of them is a family heirloom for my husband's deceased father, and the other is like a matching pair that we found at the thrift store. Actually, I don't know where the one is, but I'll tell you what it is. So there's this one. Beautiful, right? It says, hot enough for you. It says nerds in hell. And it's a bunch of people waiting, having to make small talk. It's very good. The other one that we have is like a heaven scene, and it's a guy sitting on a cloud and he says, wish I brought a magazine. See? They go together very well. All of that is to say I should read this, and maybe I'll just put it down here so that I reach for it. The Silver Chair by C.S. Lewis. This is in the Chronicles of Narnia. I've read kind of a lot of the Chronicles of Narnia. I don't know what book I'm up to. I don't like them, so I don't know what I'm doing with this. Taps at Reveille by F. Scott Fitzgerald. Is this short stories? I think it is. Haven't ever even picked this up. The Hunchback of Notre Dame by Victor Hugo. I have read so much of this book. Prisoner by Christopher Paolini. I've never read any of these Christopher Paolini books. I don't know. We have this, though. It's my husband's from like when it came out. An interactive Sherlock Holmes mystery, The Crimes of Dr. Watson. This is a really cool book. I had another one, but I don't know what happened to it. But it has like clues that you can like take out and read, like this little pamphlet. There's like stuff in like, yeah, it's very like 3-dimensional, which is pretty cool. But I've never committed to like sitting down and like doing it. I don't think I can finish this video before the sun sets. I have pride and joy over here. I have a hydrangea that's growing roots, and this it's just an ivy that's also growing roots. The Maltese Falcon by Dashiell Hammett. I started reading this when I was in high school and I never came back to it. It's a classic mystery. The Jungle by Upton Sinclair. I got this when I was in high school, and I was like, wow, The Jungle, how exciting, how influential, this changed history. And then saw how big and dense it is, and how it's about things that are not fun, and never even tried to read it. 3 great plays of Euripides, Medea, Hippolytus, and Helen. Give it up for Euripides. Magic for Sale. This is a collection of short stories that was edited by Avram Davidson. I have read probably like 5 of these short stories. I'll make my way through it. This is another short story collection called The Beijing of Possibilities by Jonathan Tell. I got this from my little free library, and I have been definitely very curious about it. Dune by Frank Herbert and Dune Messiah, also by Frank Herbert. I haven't read Dune yet. I got to a point of Dune. I love the Dune movie. The new one. The 2 new ones. God, I love them so much. The Last Battle by C.S. Lewis. Again, do I want to continue? I don't know. Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. I don't know if I'm interested in this, but I have it, so I might as well read it at some point. The Voyages of Dr. Dolittle by Hugh Lofting. I have read a Dolittle book by Hugh Lofting, and it's a little disturbing because it is a racist, so I don't know how I feel about this. The Importance of Being Earnest and 4 other plays by Oscar Wilde. I did read The Importance of Being Earnest when I was in school. I haven't read anything else by Oscar Wilde besides a graphic novel of like Something and a Giant or something like that. A Farewell to Arms by Ernest Hemingway. When I said that I didn't really want to read this in my public domain video at the beginning of last year, people came for me and told me that I needed to. It just seems hard, like subject matter wise, it seems tough. The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. I would love to read this. I really think I might like this. Gulliver's Travels. I read so much of this, but I don't think I've ever actually finished it. Jose Saramago's The Year of the Death of Ricardo Reis. I've read 2 Saramago, Blindness and The Cave. And I really, really enjoyed his writing, so I would like to read more Saramago. The Rediscovery of North America by Barry Lopez. This looks really short, and I think I'm just going to set this aside now and like feel accomplished soon by reading this. Do believe it is some nonfiction. Ceremony, where my stay is at. Hello. Ceremony by Leslie Marmon Silko. I have also started to read this at some point in the past. It is Native American work. Exploring New Ethics for Survival, The Voyage of the Spaceship Beagle by Garrett Hardin. I don't know what this is, but it sounds weird and like kind of hippie, but kind of science. I don't know, it seems fun. The Creation of the Universe by George Gamow. I think this is literally just nonfiction. East to West on Our Parents' Wings, An Estonian Odyssey by Monica Veskevitz Maselli, something like that. This is a memoir. I found it at the thrift store and I just thought it was such an interesting perspective that I had to pick it up. Irish Ghost Stories, edited by David Marcus. But I feel like I never read ghost stories because I always put them for October and then I don't get to them. So maybe I read some ghost stories. Youth and the Bright Medusa by Willa Cather. Is this a sci-fi or is this just like a psychedelic kind of thing? I don't know, but it looks really cool. The Metamorphosis and Other Stories by Franz Kafka. I have a lot of copies of The Metamorphosis, and I've read The Metamorphosis, and I have read some other stories of Franz Kafka, but I haven't read all of this version. Love The Metamorphosis. Love in the Penal Colony, and honestly, love The Great Wall of China. All of those I like feel seated within me. Embodied by Xerxes Whitney. This is a book of poetry. Prison Memoirs of an Anarchist by Alexander Berkman. I got really into the prison system. I watched a few prison shows and then I like couldn't get enough prison. And then I read several prison memoirs and books about prison. And this was from that era. And I am still very interested in it. But the text inside is so small. Florida by Lauren Groff. I have read by Lauren Groff before, I think. All I know is that Shaylin from Shaylin Writes talked a lot about Lauren Groff at some time and encouraged me to pick this up, basically. Goal number 737. This is like a weird, I don't know, young reader's book. I don't know what it's about, and I got it from a library book sale, I think. Rules for Visiting by Jessica Frances Kane. I don't know if I want this. I think I picked it up because I like the color scheme. I just am not so sure what it's about, and it seems like it's like that gen fic that like, I don't know if I really like that much. Climate Justice by Mary Robinson, former president of Ireland. Definitely interested in this. I'm deeply interested in permaculture, and a part of permaculture is the climate. The Siberiad by Stanislaw Lem. I really want to read this. Everything that I've read from him I've really enjoyed. The collection of connected stories, I think, with these like robot characters. It sounds really cool, but I just can't get myself to pick it up. East West by Salman Rushdie. The Genius of Birds by Jennifer Ackerman. This, again, birds, nonfiction. At some point I'm gonna get into birds. Hi. While waiting for this battery to charge, I read this book, The Rediscovery of North America by Barry Lopez. I finished it, so I can tell you what it's about. And also, it's not going back up on this shelf. It is an essay that is talking about when Columbus arrived in the North American continent, a bit about like the absolute atrocities that ensued, then parallels to the modern day. Really, it's mostly about like environmentalism, this book. Oh, it's another Far Side collection, Wiener Dog art, Naked by David Sedaris. I've talked about this before on this channel when going through these books. I don't think I actually enjoy David Sedaris' writing, but my husband was a big fan, and his mom got him a lot of books of David Sedaris, and now we have them, and I don't really want to read them. Poetry, April 2016. Dreams from My Father by Barack Obama. The Perfect Planet by Edward Packard. This is a choose your own adventure. That could be fun. I also have Deadwood City. I have read Deadwood City, but you know, with choose your own adventures, like you read one and like you die, and then you like read it, but you didn't really read all of it. That's what happened with this one. I think I got bit by a snake. Another volume of poetry. This is December 2015. Spirals in Time, The Secret Life and Curious Afterlife of Seashells by Helen Scales. Definitely interested in this as a nonfiction. Hopefully it's very in-depth and weird and not like too conversational. Just Before Dark by Jim Harrison. This is collected nonfiction. This is another one of those that I was like, maybe I should get rid of this because I don't know if I'm going to read this. And then I decided to keep it. Still kind of feeling that way. Closing Time by Joseph Heller. This is the sequel to Catch-22. I read Catch-22, I don't know, like 10, 15 years ago, I don't know. And I don't know if I'm going to read this anytime soon. I feel like I need to read Catch-22 again. Abigail Adams, An American Woman. This was my husband's like textbook for some class that he took. John Adams is quite interesting to me, so Abigail Adams is probably also quite interesting to me, but I don't know. True and False by David Mamet. This is about acting. Again, one of my husband's textbooks from school. See, here's one of those. Orson Scott Cards again. This is Homecoming Volume 5, Earthborn. Midnight's Children by Salman Rushdie. This is the Rushdie that I read before. It looks like I actually didn't get that far. I only got to page 55. Ginger Pie by Eleanor Estes. I tried to read this a couple years ago and found it very, very boring. I got to page 42 and gave up. But this was like such an iconic book when I was a kid that I feel like at some point I gotta read it. With Friends Like These by Alan Dean Foster. I think this is a collection of short stories that are goofy alien stories, I hope. African Silences by Peter Matheson. I don't know anything about it, but I'm definitely interested. I just don't know when or why. Euphoria by Lily King. This was a cover by. I don't know anything about it. Pachinko by Min Jin Lee. This is such a popular booktube book, and it's so long, and I don't know if it's really my thing, because it's like a generational saga kind of thing, and I just don't think that that's what I like. Cherry by Nico Walker. I got this as a part of books written by prisoners. This is a fiction written by a prisoner. I don't know, it seems like it's going to be pretty dark. I think it's quite a lot about like drug addiction and crime associated with drug addiction. So I don't know, it sounds kind of serious. The Mystery of Monster Mountain, Barrel Fever by David Sedaris. I should mention, I've read like 3 David Sedaris essay collections before. So anyway, I've read quite a lot of this one actually. Don't remember a single thing about it, but I've read a handful of these essays. The Bright Ages. I am really excited about this book. This is about the medieval period. I read up to page 4. Hopefully I get into the mood for it sometime. Abortion by Garth Nix. This is the 3rd book in the Sabriel stories. I don't know what that series is called, but it starts with Sabriel, which I have read. Then there's Lirilo, or Lyriel or something like that. I don't have that one, so I would have to rent it from the library probably before I read this. And then another of the homecoming books, this one's called Earthfall, Zealot by Reza Aslan. This is about Jesus. This is I think nonfiction about Jesus. I don't know how I feel about it. I got it from my dad. The Star Child trilogy by Frederick Pohl and Jack Williamson. It seems fun, seems goofy, silly, could be a fun time. But again, it's very long because it's a whole trilogy. The Book Thief by Marcus Zuzak. I feel like this is like required reading of like the modern age. A lot of people talk about it as like a very influential book for them. So I'm kind of curious about it. Stellar short novels. This has 3 novels. Interstellar Travel, Past, Present, and Future. I've looked at this before trying to figure out what this is. I think it's a nonfiction. This is Operation Peeg by Jonathan Gathorne Hardy. When I first got Clover as a tiny little puppy, I was reading this book and I got pretty far, but I gave up on it. I got to page 82 and just didn't continue reading it. It's a children's book. All of my animals are looking at me right now. They all look so cozy. Do you want to see them? They're really cute. You can look at them while I get my shit together. I feel like Clove's just having a staring contest. What is she doing? I'm gonna forget these books if I don't talk about them now. One of my other Franz Kafka's, I've read the most from this one. I've read The Metamorphosis from a different book, which is on my read shelf. And this one I've read The Penal Colony and The Great Wall of China. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea or David Copperfield by Robert Benchley. I think these are like humorous essays. The Saturdays by Elizabeth Enright. This is a children's book that I've had for a really long time. I've had it since I was a child. It's a library discard. The Sound and the Fury by William Faulkner. Again, this is another book that I covered in my public domain video that everybody really told me to read. The Memoirs of a Physician. It's a really old book. I got it from the antiques section of a thrift store. This is by Alexandre Dumas. It's the second volume in the series of historical romances known as the Marie Antoinette series. I picked it up because it was called The Memoirs of a Physician, and I was reminded of Apothecary Diaries. So I have no idea when I'll ever read this. The Ice Master by Jennifer Niven. This is about the voyage of the Karluk. I've read kind of a lot of like Arctic and Antarctic exploration. It by Stephen King. I just don't know if I'm ever going to read this because of what happens to children. I think it will trigger me. The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater. I do want to read this at some point. Neuromancer by William Gibson. I know this is like one of them, you know, one of the classics of the genre. I do really want to read this sooner rather than later. The Journey to the East by Herman Hesse. Burning Chrome by William Gibson. Just love the covers on these William Gibson works. They're very cool. Genesis 5 by Henry Wilson Allen. Old sci-fi. The Genesis Machine by James P. Hogan. Very cheesy cover. The Best from Fantasy and Science Fiction. 9th series edited by Robert P. Mills. It was an anthology of sci-fi and fantasy. An Ace double. Secret Agent of Terra and The Rim of Space. The Gods of Mars. I have indeed read the first book of this. I think it's John Carter of Mars, something like that. Mixed feelings on Edgar Rice Burroughs specifically. 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. I know this is one of Emmy Reed's favorites, but I don't know if I'm into it. So maybe at some point I'll get into it. Intimidated for now. Vermilion. I think this is like a cyberpunk western, maybe? I don't know. It looks cool. It's always looked cool to me. It was a cover by my husband picked out. Another issue of poetry. This one is July, August 2015. Love the cover on this one. Zoetrope, all story, guest designer Ruby Ray. This is summer 2019. Zoetrope is like an absolute gold publication for short fiction, so definitely interested in that. And When You Are Engulfed in Flames by David Sedaris. The Universe by Isaac Asimov, From Flat Earth to Quasar. I'm pretty sure this is just nonfiction about the universe. A Year in the World, Journeys of a Passionate Traveler by Frances Mays. I got a lot of travel memoirs when I was in high school. I was very, I really wanted to get out of where I was. Like, I wanted to get out of my household. And so I think I was trying to escape through, like, travel memoirs. I don't really like traveling. Morality for Beautiful Girls by Alexander McCall Smith. The stories in the #1 ladies detective agency. I have read that. I did like the first one, but it's not like it was super impactful. So I don't know when I'm going to read these. And again, another volume of Homecoming, that Orson Scott Card series. So everybody, look at how short I am. I'm on my tippy toes on a step stool. The Double Jinx Mystery, a Nancy Drew story. This one looks pretty fun. Mystery of the Glowing Eye. Another one, this was number 51. The Mystery of Crocodile Island, this is number 55. And number 2, The Hidden Staircase. I should really read this one. Best in Children's Books. I think this just takes snippets from other stories and compiles them all here. I don't know if I'm ever going to read that. The Full Cupboard of Life, another book in the #1 ladies detective agency. My Year of Rest and Relaxation by Tessa Moshfegh. I did buy this from a store, new, and I read up to page 60. I'm curious about this. I've never read anything by Moshfegh before. I'm not going to pick this up because it's really big. Tom Wolfe, The Bonfire of the Vanities. I don't know anything about it. Paradise Lost by John Milton. I do want to read this. I find this quite interesting. Speaking of long-ass poem, The Iliad by Homer. I have read the Odyssey. I've not yet read the Iliad. Essays and Poems by Ralph Waldo Emerson. I think I would read this if it wasn't so much work. So maybe I'll just like piece by piece read an essay every once in a while. I don't know. Walden by Henry David Thoreau. At some point I should just read this. I got to page 13. The Adventures of Tom Sawyer by Mark Twain. I've not read anything by Mark Twain yet, which seems like a really big gap. Oh. Citizen Scientist, Searching for Heroes and Hope in an Age of Extinction by Mary Ellen Hannibal. That just sounds uplifting, nice, nonfiction. Ursula K. Le Guin's 3 Hainish novels. I don't know how you say it. I've read one of them. I read the middle one, Planet of Exile, because I had that as an Ace double feature. I read both of them. It was Planet of Exile on one side and Mankind Under the Leash by Thomas M. Dish on the other side. Heidi by Joanna Spiri. I feel like I've never heard a single person talk about this. Dr. Zhivago by Boris Pasternak. Another one of those like classics that I don't know anything about. War and Peace by Leo Tolstoy. Highly abridged. Curious about it. I might never read it. If I do read War and Peace, I don't think I'm going to read an abridged version. I'm just not an abridged kind of girl. Villette by Charlotte Bronte. I've read Jane Eyre, and that's it, by Charlotte Bronte. The Country of the Pointed Firs and Other Stories by Sarah Orne Jewett. Interested, haven't ever tried. Don Quixote by Cervantes. A total absolute classic. Haven't ever even attempted or come close to attempting reading this book. Scared of it. Scared. Dylan Thomas, Portrait of the Artist as a Young Dog. I could be convinced to read this soon. Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. I have tried to read this. Not very much though. I got like half a page in. I feel like I got very, very minimally into this book. Main Street by Sinclair Lewis. Definitely interested in this. Love me some Sinclair Lewis. I've read It Can't Happen Here and Babbitt. Rudyard Kipling, Short Stories Volume 1 and 2. I just feel like these volumes are so beautiful. I've read The Jungle Book by Rudyard Kipling and nothing else. A Zoo in My Luggage by Gerald Durrell. It's nonfiction about a guy who has his own zoo. A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man by James Joyce. Again, really need to read some James Joyce. Haven't gotten to it yet. I will. I know I will. All Creatures Great and Small by James Harriet. Now I gotta go into the corner. If there's an earthquake, I'm so trapped. This is all like drawing and art books, but this right here is like books that I pulled out of my little free library that I was interested in trying. Be the Change, Robin Greenfield's Call to Kids. I have read Robin Greenfield's, I think it's called Food Freedom, and this came with that. Ella Enchanted by Gail Carson Levine. This was a very popular book when I was a kid, and I never read it, and I'm interested in it. Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmis. But I've heard that Lessons in Chemistry, despite the horrific cover design, is actually a good book. So, curious about that. The Venice Sketchbook by Reese Bowen. I have some interest in reading this. The One in a Million Boy by Monica Wood. I'm tenuously interested in this as well. The Serpent Garden by Judith Merkel Riley. I'm a little bit more curious in this than the others. Raditzer by Matheson. I have the other book by Peter Matheson. I don't know if this is any good. I don't know if he's a good author, but I was kind of curious in this, and it's quite short, so I thought it would be easy to try. I Am Malala by Malala Yousafzai. I tried to read this. I didn't get very far. I wasn't having a very good time. I would like to at some point, I just don't know when. Eon by Greg Bear. This was donated to my little free library by a coworker, and he said it wasn't very good, but now I'm kind of curious about it. But the only problem is that it's really, really long for something that's not very good. I don't know. And Lincoln by Gore Vidal. Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. I read Armada by Ernest Cline. I hated it. This is another book that was super popular. I feel like at some point I should read it, but I just don't know if it's for me. The Aliens of Summer by Calvin Ross. Seems like a super weird niche book. It's about the giants, and apparently there's aliens. Seth Greenland, The Angry Buddhist. This actually is a book that I got from my little free library as well, so I'm actually going to put it back down here. The Veils of Alzarock. This is also by Fred Saberhagen. This one, if I remember, sounds really cool. It sounds kind of like Pitch Black, maybe a little bit. Science Fiction Omnibus, edited by Groff Conklin. The Incorporation of Eric Chung by Stephen C. Lowe. I find the cover for this very intriguing. Flatterland by Ian Stewart. I have read both Flatland and Sphereland. Justine by Lawrence Durrell. I don't know when I will read this. I don't know if this is my thing, but I saw it a lot on Instagram like 7 years ago, and then I picked it up. Other Lands Have Dreams, From Baghdad to Pekin Prison by Kathy Kelly. Another prison memoir. Replay by Sharon Creech. Sharon Creech was my favorite author when I was a child. Chasing Redbird specifically was one of my favorite books. Very comforting to me as a child. I feel like this is a completely different vibe, however. Lose Well by Chris Gethard. I feel like I might have read this, but it was so long ago, and maybe I just read part of it, but this is a comedian. Star Wars Darksaber by Kevin J. Anderson. I don't like Star Wars, so I don't know why I have this. I would much rather have all of the Voyager Star Trek books that I passed up because I was being good, and I decided not to get them because what if I didn't like them? Of course I would like them. I love Voyager. I don't know what I was doing. I picked up one. Huge mistake. I always regret not getting things. Okay, battery break again. Sorry guys. Throughout the course of the day, I listened to the album Punk Tactics. It's so good. I liked damn near like fucking 80% of the songs from that album are now on my liked playlist. So good. Oh my god. It's from 2023. I liked the song Hula Gang like, I don't know, 4 months ago or something. Never listened to the album. Just listen to the album. It's amazing. So listen to that if you're wanting something Just extremely fun. Dune, my other copy. The Return of the King. Why, yes, I have not yet read The Return of the King. I've read The Hobbit, The Fellowship of the Ring, The Two Towers. That's it. Haven't finished The Return of the King yet. I'm kind of worried about it. Mission of Gravity by Hal Clement. Another sci-fi. The Best from Fantasy and Science Fiction 12th series, edited by Avram Davidson. Short story collection. Robert A. Heinlein's The Menace from Earth. Another old sci-fi. Tender is the Night by F. Scott Fitzgerald. Part of it is because I hate this cover, and part of it is because I'm not sure if I'm into Fitzgerald anymore, but I have no desire to read this. David Copperfield by Charles Dickens. This is a children's edition. I had started reading the unabridged version. I feel like I got quite far. Like, he becomes an adult and everything. I couldn't do it. Zaytoon by Dave Eggers. I think this is about Katrina. The Africans by David Lamb. I think it's nonfiction. During the 4 years he spent in Africa as the bureau chief for the Los Angeles Times, David Lamb traveled through almost every country south of the Sahara. A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens. I didn't get very far in this. I don't know when I'm going to read this. I don't know if I'm that interested in Dickens. Requiem for a Nun by William Faulkner. Somewhat interested in this. Don't know what it's about. Shirley by Charlotte Bronte. Definitely interested in that. The Art of War by Sun Tzu. I feel like I read kind of a lot of this back in high school. Wallace Stevens, The Collected Poems. I think this was my husband's textbook for some, like, English class. Aristophanes, Lysistrata, The Arcanians and the Clouds. I've read The Birds by Aristophanes, and I didn't like it that much. And oh my god, is that it? I forgot some books! The Mystery of the Moaning Cave, another Alfred Hitchcock and the Three Investigators. White Witch of Kynance by Mary Calhoun. The Trap by Tabitha King. And The Girl Who Circumnavigated Fairyland in a Ship of Her Own Making. I got about halfway through this book. This was another casualty of the mashed potato May catastrophe. I don't know what was going on with me. And then these I was planning to read around Halloween, and I never got to them. So that's why they're all together. So I read a book, I listened to an album, and I went through every book that I haven't read that's on my shelf. I got rid of a few, and I've identified some that I'm more keen on reading in the immediate future. So I think we've done quite a lot today. And as I edit this, I intend to assign numbers to the books and be able to draw them. I think I'm going to do a pool of books that I'm like genuinely interested in, and then books that I really have no idea if I'm interested in them or not. I hope you're having a great time. Happy New Year. It's going to be fun. We're going to read. We're going to have a great time. And if you want to join in, you can subscribe, like the video, share it with a friend who you think is interested, and I will be back again soon.